Welcome back everyone to more of our gameplay series of Farming Simulator 22, and we have a brand new day. It is now October, about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd actually intended on starting a little bit earlier in the morning, but as you can see, we got a little bit of rain and that was making things incredibly dark. Now, if you have the game and have not tried it yet, I highly recommend using the fast forward. Now, the max time acceleration you can use right now is 120 times, which sounds like a lot, but really isn't. It isn't very much at all, because if you're trying to get through, once you've got your work done for the day and you're ready to fast forward to the next day, outside of sleeping through the night, it does take a little while, even at 120x, to get through the night, but it does give you some interesting textures and clouds to look at overnight, which is exactly what I've been dealing with. So we do get to see the sun coming up, peeking through the clouds now, but we've got some work to do. You can see I've got our sprayer on the back here, so we're going to be spraying for some weeds, but the biggest thing I want us to get accomplished today are greenhouses. So as we rapidly approach wintertime, where everything is going to be dead on the fields and we're not going to have any field work to do during that time, we're going to need a money supply. Now, one thing we're going to have, because it is simply taking forever, is we're still going to have our flour production. You can see we've still got plenty of wheat. We got a little bit of sorghum left here in our grain mill, but we still got plenty of wheat in there, and it's not going to be anytime soon that that's done. And then, of course, once we come over to our bakery, yeah, we got tons and tons of flour, with, of course, more on the way. So, lots and lots of stuff going on right now. Our biggest problem is going to be the storage of bread, and we'll take a look at that. Maybe today we'll get over there to it, but you can see it shows at 75, now 76. That's actually not correct. I'll show you how it's actually counting that, and that's something I hope they address in an update, because the way it's working right now, not really a huge fan of, but we'll come back to that. And it may change the way that we ultimately handle our bread if this is not something they're going to update. So when we were last together, we were doing a lot of field work, and you can see that is now done, but we got some issues. Our wheat is indeed growing, but now we have weeds. Certainly to be expected, but it is something that has 100% been confirmed. Now, the weeds are at 75%, looks like, on both fields. Now, I haven't been back over to our initial field just yet, and that's because of where we're going to be putting our greenhouses. I wanted to be a little bit closer to that today. So before we actually get started there, hopefully we can get rid of all the weeds. All right, let's go ahead and get this bad boy up and running. And again, as always, I'm still trying to work my way into trusting the AI, so I'm hoping for the best here. All right, let's get this thing unfolded so I can see exactly. I know it has a huge working width, but I'm trying to get this thing lined up. All right, here we go. This isn't going to be perfect, but I feel like this is going to be pretty good to get him started. So now we are going to be, as long as this thing decides it's going to work for me. Are we spraying? Is it spraying? I feel like I can't tell if it's spraying. Is that intended to be spraying? I can't tell, because there's nothing coming out. Oh. Well, we sprayed for a second. I'm not sure what's happening. Oh no, he's fertilizing. He's fertilizing. Okay. So, well, that's another thing that we needed to look into, so I guess we'll just fertilize. Right now, that is not what I intended for him to do, but we need that as well. So now our fertilizing is going to be at 100%, so that's always nice. Unfortunately, that will be overridden by the fact that the weeds are at a very high percentage, but hey, one thing at a time. You just never know what kind of results you're going to get here in Farming Simulator 22. So now we got to figure out a way. I guess I'm going to have to pre-fill that thing with with our chemical. But we want to come over here, and this is where we want to start putting our greenhouses. Right over here, a nice looking field. In fact, let's just actually come into the main map itself in the game. All right, so here we are, field 51. Again, a nice size field for the greenhouses. I'll show you what the greenhouses look like in a minute. We have 3 sizes. Of course, we're only going to deal with the large greenhouses. So here we go. We've got, again, a nice size field. And hey, we got plenty of room for expansion because we got field number 50 here if we decide in the future that that's the direction that we want to go. So all things being considered, I think this is a perfect opportunity right next to some housing, and we'll just play that into our storyline as these are our workers who are going to be working the greenhouses. Now the greenhouses work a little bit different here in Farming Simulator 22, and the big thing is we don't need fertilizer. All we need is water. So my plan for our greenhouses is as we come through right here, I want to line the greenhouses up in a row right down the middle here, and then have a little space here for another road, and then do the same thing, another row, and then space, another row, and just do it like that. And we're going to have the portion of the greenhouse that actually needs the water right here on this side. At least that's the plan. We'll see how that works out. So the first thing we need to do is come back to our map, click on farmland, field 51, which is only 91 grand. So we're at currently a little over 500 grand. So that's going to take us down to about 400 grand. And now our farm is really starting to take shape. So now that we own the land, I'm going to bring up the store menu, just go to construction, and we want production and then greenhouses. So again, here's our 3 sizes. We only care about the largest size. There's no reason for us to mess around with these smaller ones. But if I click, all right, here we go. So you can see if I try to put it down on land that we do not own, it's not going to work. But if I get it right here, now we don't want to put it just like this because, well, that would be the wrong side. All right, so I want to get this thing, I'm going to get it as straight as I can. But for those of you who are maybe a little bit OCD about this thing, I'm going to do the best I can for you, but I make no promises. So the side closest to our road here, that is going to be the side where we're going to need to put the water in. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. All right, so I'm actually going to escape out of that for just a moment because I want to come back to buildings, because the first thing we're going to need is a water container. Now we could simply use some of the water that's on the map, but I don't want to do that. In fact, what I really want to do is put down one of these right here at the beginning. Space is not an issue. Okay, the biggest thing I'm concerned with in all of this is that we get the right side pointed in the right direction. All right, so let's just go ahead and start putting down some of these. All right, let's go ahead and swing our camera around a little bit. All right, now how close? I wonder how this is going to place. So I'm going to back this off maybe a little bit. Okay, yep, it does put down a little bit of extra. It does change things a little bit there. Now these only cost about 10 grand plus a little bit of construction cost. Shouldn't be very much since we're on pretty flat land. And I'm not going to worry about lining these up exactly. And we're going to leave just a little bit of room here. Again, for those of you who might be just a touch OCD, this is probably going to drive you nuts. But I apologize for that in advance. So we're going to put, all right, how many is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's just go ahead and just do 5. Again, there's plenty of space on this map, so there's no reason for us to worry too much. All right, and the reason I want to do that is because I want to give room for our guy to turn around and then make another run. So at the very end of this, I'm thinking, what do we want to do here? What I would like to do, how much are these? These are only 3 grand. So I'm going to go ahead and put another one right here, but I might want to do it on the other side whenever we get to that point. Let's go ahead and start here. Let's go ahead and escape out. We need to head back over to our guy, see what he's doing. Looks like he's done. Which he is in... Which way is he pointing right now? Okay, there you go. So let's just hop out real quick. And let's see. We are on the wrong field. Yeah, this is what you get for not paying attention. All right, here we go. This is what we need. So yes, our weeds are still there, but now we're perfectly fertilized. Great. That's exactly what we were hoping for. Sure it is. All right, so while we're here, we might as well have him go ahead and work this other side. And this is where it's going to get real touchy with him getting stuck on stuff. Hopefully he's got a good way of working through this, because there are plenty of trees to hit on this side of the field. All right, that's pretty close there. All right, so you go ahead and get started. So what I'll do at this point, and now I can see a very fine mist coming down. All right, so I'm going to hop out. He's going to fuss at me for a minute for getting in his way. But fertilization is about to be completed on these fields. So what I'll do is once he's done with these fields, we'll take him over to our main field and let him fertilize that one as well. And then I will simply put, probably off camera, so we can focus on some other things, I will actually put some chemical in there so that we don't have to worry about that anymore, because I really just want to use this for weeds. That was the intended purpose. All right, now that everything is going perfectly according to plan, absolutely no issues whatsoever to think about, we will head back over. And we're going to ignore this guy for right now. We're just going to pretend that everything is perfect. And oh yes, look at these greenhouses. I like the way this is starting to look. So we're going to bring over one of our tractors, and we'll be pulling along behind. We are going to need a water trailer or a water tank to pull behind. Now, the easiest way for me to find a water tank is to simply come into the animal area, and you've got a few selections here. So you've got 7,300 liters is the capacity here. The total capacity for the greenhouses is 20,000. So you're looking at something like this if you want to fill up one entirely. Now, this is a bit more than I want to get into right now, simply because this is going to require a big rig in order to deal with this, and I'm not quite ready to shell out that kind of money and get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the very base model for this, and I'll just simply have to make multiple rounds to get these things filled up. Now the good thing, and we'll just go ahead and buy this. There's no reason in playing around too much with this. Let's go ahead and buy it. We'll be able to find uses for it. The good news is, once you fill these things up to the full 20,000, you're going to have a lot of time before you have to deal with it again. I believe it's either 6 or 7 months. So basically a couple of times a year, you need to come in, refill the water, and then other than that, you are good to go. So let's actually hop inside. So we've got here at the front, this is our water tank. So we'll simply drive by here with the water tank, fill it up, and then continue on our way. Here on the side, this is where you're going to get your pallets or crates full of your merchandise. This is where your strawberries, I forget all of the crops that are available. There are 3 crops available inside here. So let's just go ahead and take a look. Once you walk in, we can manage this production point, and here we go. We have all 5 of our greenhouses on here. So we have tomatoes, lettuce, and strawberries. What I'm going to do is use all of these in each one. Not because I believe that's the best way, but because it just keeps things very simple. So we're going to activate all of this. There is no cost per hour. It's essentially free, other than the water, of course. So you got a little bit of time with labor into this, as well as the cost of the water, assuming that you're not getting it out of one of the water sources here on the map anyway. But that's about it. And these things will be producing year round. Now, one thing I am going to do, if we come into the actual price, let's come into there to the price, and let's find these. Where are you? They're all together. There we are. So we got lettuce, tomatoes, and strawberries. Now these prices really don't mean anything to us right now because we don't know how much they're going to make. But if we look at the fluctuation, you can see that they're all the same. All three of these. They dip, well, right about now is the lowest point, and then they increase. So what I figure we're going to do is we're going to put these on sale as they're produced, and that way we'll just sort of average out this price. Otherwise, we're going to have to come by and pick up and deliver constantly around these things. And right now, that's not really what we are about. So we're just going to have it sell all the time. So it'll just essentially average out this price over the course of the year. So times like right now, when pricing isn't so good, that should be overridden by the times when price gets much better. All right, so let's come back in, and we are going to set this to sell each one of these. So it does, take you just a minute. Okay, so let's verify that because I want to make sure we don't leave anything on the wrong setting, because otherwise we will end up with a bit of a mess. Okay, greenhouse 2 is taken care of. Greenhouse 3, it's very easy to lose track of which greenhouse you're on over here on the left, since it removes your highlight as soon as you go to the right hand side to make some changes. That's why I keep going back and just making sure. Okay, there we go. So I believe that's all 5. Let's actually randomly click through some of these. Okay, so now we're back up to the top. Excellent. So we have done our job. You can see they look awful right now because we've provided exactly no water. But we are all set, and keep in mind, the growth plan here is to create yet another row, and then in the future, once we got a little bit more money, I'm going to come in and we'll make some landscaping adjustments here and try to get rid of some of this, some of these weeds off the field. All right, so where is this guy? Is he done? I feel like he's probably not done. But is he close enough? Yeah, he's close enough. He's on his last pass there, and I am going to allow him to be done. So remember, my goal here is to have a 100% AI sustained setup. So that's the way I am playing this. So if the AI can't reach it, I generally would just leave it alone. All right, so now we're going to get this guy back over to the main field. So we're here in October. So the weather has certainly not become too cold just yet. But we're at a point where we're preparing for winter. And these greenhouses are going to provide us quite a bit of income. In fact, I estimate they're going to be somewhere between $1,800 and $2,000 per day. We'll see how close I end up being. Oh, hold on. Come on, get through here. All right, there we go. We've also got some tree trimming to do. And there are certainly equipment to help us out with that. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Do we want to start? Let's just go ahead and start on this other end, because this is the end we want to make sure he gets done. If nothing else, we can always trim the size of this field. That is not a problem. Oh, look out there, car. Let the farmer do his work. All right, so once again, we head over and you can see we have some nice, wonderful weeds, and we have 50% fertilization. Now that fertilization was taken care of by the seeder. So that's the good thing. All right, let's let this guy continue on with the unfolding. I hastily interrupted him. All right, let's see. I'm going to try to get right to the edge, or at least pretty close to it there. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, let's hop out, get out of the way of the fertilizer, and let him go on about his business. You can see that is a very fine mist that he is dropping, but it is extremely helpful for our production. So now we'll hop back over. There is our new water tank. And so you can see I've got our equipment lined up over here that we have so far, trying to keep it out of the way for any new stuff that we get. Let's see, have I unhooked here? No, not yet. So let's go ahead and unhook that. No better starting farm area than the storefront itself. All the wonderful supplies we need within reach. All right, so let's see how well my plan is coming together. It was a nice plan, but we're just going to have to see right now if this is all going to work out. Because in my head, it looks really good and sounds great. All right, so before we head over, all right, I don't see any traffic around, so we're actually going to park right here next to our bakery. Here's the problem with our bread. It sets the bread as it's produced. As each of our pallets gets finished up, well, it starts a new pallet. And that's what starts over the numbers in here. So when we look at bread and we say, oh, it's at 219, well, that's not a total. That is the current pallet that it's working on. So that's what throws you off. And it's just leaving our bread sitting out here, which I am not a fan of. So what I think I'm going to have to do, again, until or unless they fix this, I'm just going to have to put this on sale all the time, and we'll just have to, once again, average out the pricing, because if it leaves it out here, I was under the impression that it was going to store it inside the building. Not that it was going to drop it out here in this area, but that was my mistake. So I think I'm just going to have to turn this on to sell it. Now, the good news is we can come right over here and we can pick this up and move it. So we can load it into the back of a pickup truck. We can do that if we need to, but I would prefer not to have to do that. And by the way, I kind of like these textures for the bread. They're looking pretty nice. I like that. But again, we're trying to make this operation as hands-off as we can right now. And then later on, if we want to change some things and have a little fun with it, then we can certainly do that. So that's what the bread looks like as it's being made. And I would assume the same thing is happening with the flour as well, unless you change it like we did over here to distributing, which means it's sending it straight over. But we don't have anywhere to distribute the bread. And you can see right now we are done with both the oats or the sorghum. So let's go ahead and deactivate those. Okay, just in case it's costing us any money as it continues to at least try to produce more. So with our bread, I'm going to change this from storing to selling. All right, and we'll keep track, because what I don't know now, as it starts to sell all this out, will it sell what it's already done here? Or are these just sort of, well, here right now? Again, all questions that we'll have to answer along the way, but here's this current setup. It just dumps our bread right out behind. Oh, this poor guy here. He's being so nice to us, so patient. Sir, I shall reward your patience by moving along. All right, so we're down around 350,000. Certainly not a problem, but what I'm going to do as time is passing by much faster than I would prefer. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the field here. That is exactly what I did not want. So we've got weed problems now that I have created by my lack of understanding of what was about to happen. We've got just all sorts of little issues that we got to deal with. All right, I'm going to go down here and get on the right track. But the good news is we are well fertilized. We got that part taken care of. Okay, so we're going to hop by here. Don't think we're going to have to get too terribly close to this. Yeah, there we go. Top left-hand corner, you can see it shows start filling. Now, this is going to take a minute. But as we look around, let's see. Let's scroll out a little bit. Let's let that thing do its job of filling. I'm thinking we can get 3 rows very comfortably, leaving plenty of room in between. Again, this is not something that I'm trying to squeeze in every one that I possibly can. And if we squeeze 3 rows, that's going to be about 15 of these. And 15 of those sounds pretty nice. Because if they're making us about $2,000 a day each, anywhere in that neighborhood, and we have 15 of them, that's 30 grand a day that we're only going to have to really do anything for twice a year. That is nice, and that is something that I can get used to. So let's go ahead and start overloading. Yes. So you go ahead and unload. It unloads that water quite a bit quicker than it loads it. That is for sure. All right, so we'll let it get back down to 0. And as we get toward the end of today's video, now we can hop in here and we can see, oh look, everything looks a whole lot healthier now that it's got a little bit of water in here. And also, while you're walking around inside your greenhouse, take a look in the bottom right hand corner. You can see that we're already starting to get some production, a couple of liters of each of those. And because we're selling them, you're not actually going to see any pallets or anything form outside, but we're going to start to get a little bit of income. The game will come in every few cycles and it will actually take care of these for us. Let's go ahead and just open some of these doors here. A little air circulate through here. Play around a little bit. Okay, I like it. So that's what the greenhouses look like. That is our plan for them. Now, as we end today's video, I've got some more work to do on these fields. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Our farm is very much starting to take shape as we approach winter time. Thank you guys for joining me, and stick around for more Farming Simulator 22.